You may lose the future of your children. This attraction about the virtual games. Bullying has become virtualized. The primary existence is in this world, not in the virtual. Hi, here is Markku Wilenius, the traveling futurist. You may lose the future of your children if you don't take into account some of the important factors I'm gonna tell you about. Here is some context why I think that we need to be preparing for a different future for our children. First of all, let's look at where we are now. Last 20 years have changed the lifestyles of the children more than the previous 100 years did for them. Just look at some of the factors. First of all, children spend much less time outside playing with their mates. They spend more time inside and do the visual gaming. That has been a dramatic shift. Secondly, some good old virtues such as family dinners are disappearing since everybody has its own timetable and families think that they don't have time or interest to come together in the evening and eat together. Thirdly, this attraction about the virtual games. In most of the cases still, kids do that alone. Even if they have counterparts in the virtual world, they are much more alone than being physically in the same place with another kids. Also, bullying has become virtualized. So there is a lot of cyberbullying in the virtual space for kids that they have to be handling. And lastly, the availability of the junk food everywhere has become a real problem, so that kids don't get good nutrition since junk food is available everywhere. So we are entering into very different type of the future. We are entering into the phase where digital space is overriding lives of our children. And while there are a lot of good things about it, we need to become also aware what type of the detrimental side effect there must be. To counterattack those harmful side effects, I suggest that we look particularly 4 different areas. The first aspect of the core problem is our relationship with the nature. So the kids we should let them go out and understand and feel the nature. We should allow them to go into the forest, on the seashores, really to experience and learn from the nature. Because if we don't do that, they come very much distantiated and they don't understand how it works. The same way with any other physical things, like making the buildings, some physical stuff. It's very important that they also know how to handcraft, how to do things with your hands. All these things have to be done in such a way that they really get to the point where they still see that their primary existence is in this world, not in the virtual. The second aspect is, ever since the social media, which started to rise almost 20 years ago, our kids are very much a part of that social media world, much more than the previous generation is. So how do we deal with that? The most challenging aspect of social media is that there are lots of opinions. Some of these opinions are very extreme. So how do the kids learn to differentiate these extreme views from the normal information? We need to help them to deal with that. Give them some tools and ideas how they differentiate the quality of the different information, and sort of to filter the stuff that is not important or not supportive to their own upbuilding. That also comes with another aspect of the challenge that we see, which is that they still need to be able to focus on things. And we need to train them how to be focused in the world where we are splitting our times more and more. Our kids particularly, they are very eager and interested in different things. So social media, for instance, which has a lot of coverage, a lot of diversity, can be easily kind of very, very trapping and take them away again from their own judgment of what is right and wrong, what is good and bad. So we need to help them to balance their own judgment about the information that they receive. The third aspect, what our children really need, is that they need to become their unique selves rather than be competing with the others and try to be perfect something. That's often something that we adults sort of bring them this idea that they need to be this good in here and that good there. And with that, we might be destroying something which is very precious, which is that they have their unique talents, they have their unique strengths, and we need to support and help them to build those strengths and talents, because that is how they actually will create their very unique way of doing things. And that is ultimately that gives them inspiration and gives them also life satisfaction, so that they are able to accomplish, they are able to do their own way, even if that way is not anything that we would call the normal. So let the flowers grow there, let's be supportive and help the children to find their own very special future and goals with that. The last point I want to make here is that our kids are growing in an environment which more often than not is very multicultural. People from different walks of life, different from different parts of the world, different colors on their face and their hair, they're gonna meet them much more as we do now, or what our parents and grandparents did at the time. The world is becoming more multicultural. So how to deal with that type of the diversity? The only way that I see that what we need to be providing for our kids to kind of master that diversity is to help them to experience it and show them how important it is to be open of different opinions. We can still judgment, we can still be critical, but we need to also to build a kind of empathy in our collectives and help our kids to understand how does the world look from the perspective of another kid who comes from a very different background. Because only there we can sort of help to build up a kind of a collaboration that we need in the future, and our kids particularly need that as a part of their life path in their world. So, summing up, life of our children has changed quite dramatically in the course of the last 20 years. Their life has become much more virtual when it comes to their everyday activities. That is a matter of fact, and that is going to be even more exponential as we go towards the next 20 years. That means that we need to make sure they are still connected to their physical environments, nature and built environment. We need to make sure that they are well equipped to be able to judge the information that they get through different virtual channels. We need to make sure that they find their very unique paths and that they can be creative in finding that and build on their own strengths. And lastly, we need to be making sure that they can live in the world which is much more multicultural and that they understand the views and the cultures of the other people that are different to them. If we are able to meet this challenge, our children are gonna have a great future. So, subscribe to my channel, share it with your friends, and come up with your own answers and questions about what is important for our children's future.